Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about showing off, chasing approval, or trying to prove your worth to everyone around you. Real confidence is calm. It is steady. It is the quiet kind of power that makes people stop and take notice, without you ever demanding their attention. And the highest form of confidence, the kind we are going to build together in this audio, is this. When nothing shakes you. When nothing provokes you. When nothing controls you. Most people go through life reacting to everything. To criticism. To rejection. To chaos. To the opinions of strangers who will forget them by tomorrow. And every reaction, every emotional outburst, every desperate scramble for approval, it takes away a piece of their power. Slowly. Quietly. Until one day they look up and wonder why they feel so small. But when you learn to react to nothing, you stop giving your energy away. You stop handing the remote control of your emotions to people who haven't earned it. You become untouchable. You move through this world with a kind of presence that is both rare and, frankly, dangerous, the kind of confidence that cannot be faked, cannot be performed, and cannot be taken away. In this audio, we are going to break down exactly how to build that kind of confidence, chapter by chapter, principle by principle. You will learn how to silence self-doubt, how to control your emotions instead of being controlled by them, how to detach from outcomes that used to terrify you, and how to carry yourself with the authority of someone who needs nothing and fears nothing. Each chapter gives you both timeless truths and practical steps. Not theory. Not fluff. Things you can apply today. So take a deep breath. Clear your mind. And prepare to step into the strongest version of yourself. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop explaining yourself. One of the fastest ways people drain their own confidence, and most of them don't even realize they're doing it, is by constantly explaining themselves. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself giving a long, unnecessary explanation just so someone wouldn't judge you? Maybe you were late to a meeting and instead of simply saying, "Thank you for waiting," you launched into a 5-minute speech about the traffic, your alarm, your phone dying, your dog, your neighbor, everything but the actual apology. Or maybe someone questioned one of your decisions and you felt this almost physical need to justify every detail, to lay out your reasoning piece by piece, just to feel understood. Here is the truth, confident people don't do that. They don't live in apology mode. They don't scramble to explain themselves to everyone who raises an eyebrow. And it's not because they're rude. It's because they know something most people never figure out. Their worth is not up for debate. When you stop over-explaining yourself, something interesting happens. Your words carry more weight. Your presence commands more respect. Because what over-explaining actually communicates, on a level people feel before they can even articulate it, is, "I need your approval to feel okay about my choices." But when you keep it short, calm, and firm, the message shifts entirely. It says, "I don't need your permission. Now, I am not telling you to become dismissive or arrogant. This is not about coldness. This is about knowing when to keep it brief, when to let your choices stand on their own, and when silence is more powerful than any explanation you could offer." Think about how commanding it feels when someone says, "I chose this because it's right for me." And then stops. Full stop. No backpedaling. No softening. No list of justifications to make you comfortable with their decision. Just calm certainty. That is confidence. Here's a challenge for you starting today. Catch yourself in the act. The moment you feel yourself piling on excuses, stop. Replace the whole tangled explanation with something simple, firm, and direct. "I can't make it. I've decided to go a different way. That doesn't work for me." And then, be silent. Let the silence carry the weight. At first, this will feel deeply uncomfortable. You will feel the urge to fill that silence, to soften your words, to make sure the other person isn't upset. But with practice, you will discover something life-changing. The less you explain, the stronger you feel. People begin to take you more seriously. And most importantly, you begin to take yourself more seriously. This is where dangerous confidence begins. Not with a grand gesture. Not with a bold declaration. With this one small, powerful shift. Stop explaining. Stop over-justifying. Trust your choices. Stand by your words. Because the moment you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone around you, you've already become someone worth listening to. Chapter 2, Master Your Inner Voice. If you want to become dangerously confident, you have to start where nobody else can see, inside your own mind. Because the voice that speaks the most to you is not your boss, not your parents, not your critics. It's the one in your own head. And that voice is either your greatest weapon or your most destructive enemy. Most people never examine it. They just let it run. They let it narrate their lives in real time, and they accept whatever it says as the truth. But the things that voice says matter enormously, because the way you speak to yourself in private eventually shows up in how you carry yourself in public. Think about this. If your inner voice spends all day telling you I'm not good enough, I always mess this up, people are probably judging me right now, how do you think you'll walk into a room? Nervous. Hesitant. Small. Like you're waiting for someone to catch you out. But if your inner voice says, I can handle this. I've done harder things before. I am exactly where I need to be, you walk into that same room differently. Taller. Calmer. Sharper. More present. Same person. Completely different inner dialogue. And the difference changes everything around you. Here is what most people get wrong. They wait for life to validate them before they'll change how they speak to themselves. They think, once I succeed, I'll feel confident. Once people respect me, I'll talk to myself better. But it works the other way around. You don't wait for proof. You create it. You start speaking to yourself like someone worthy of respect, and then your actions begin to follow that belief. Your brain believes repetition. Whatever you repeat to yourself often enough becomes your operating truth. Say you're weak long enough, and you will shrink into weakness. Say you're capable, focused, and steady, and your whole nervous system starts to align with those words. The inner voice is like a thermostat. It sets the temperature of your confidence. And if it's set low, you'll keep sinking back down no matter how much external success you achieve, because the thermostat will always pull you back. So how do you begin to master it? Start by catching it in action. Pay attention to the quiet lines you whisper to yourself throughout the day. When you make a mistake, do you say, I'm so stupid, or do you say, okay? What do I learn from this? When you look in the mirror, does your mind immediately find the flaws? Or does it acknowledge that you're showing up, you're growing, and that's enough for today? These small moments happen dozens of times every day. And together, they shape everything. This is not about fake positivity. You don't need to tell yourself you're perfect. Dangerous confidence isn't built on lies. It is built on strength, on choosing words that build you up rather than hollow you out. Not I can't handle this, but this is hard and I'll figure it out. Not I always fail, but every setback is sharpening me. Try this for the next 30 days. Every morning, before the world gets to you, say 3 things out loud. I respect myself. I can handle whatever comes today. I don't need anyone's approval to move forward. It will feel strange at first. Say them anyway. Because within weeks you will notice something shift, in how you walk into conversations, in how quickly you recover from setbacks, in how little you need other people's reactions to feel stable. Your inner voice is the foundation of everything. Master it, and you won't just appear confident. You'll feel it in your bones. And once you feel it there, in the marrow of who you are. No one can take it from you. Chapter 3. Build respect before confidence. Every lasting kind of confidence starts with one truth that most people skip over in their rush to feel better about themselves. You cannot feel powerful if you don't respect yourself first. Respect is the foundation. Without it, confidence is nothing more than a performance. A mask you put on to convince other people while deep down you're still unsure, still waiting to be found out, still feeling like the whole thing could collapse at any moment. But when you build real self-respect, practiced, daily, earned through small consistent choices, confidence stops being an act. It becomes who you are. Think about how you treat people you genuinely respect. You listen to them carefully. You value their time. You trust their judgment. Now ask yourself honestly. Do you treat yourself that way? Or do you dismiss your own instincts? Ignore your own needs? Allow people to cross your limits because somewhere inside, you aren't sure you deserve better? Here's the thing people miss. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how the world treats you. Not by accident. Because when you disrespect your own time, your energy, your boundaries, you signal to everyone around you exactly how to treat you. And people, consciously or not, tend to take the deal you offer them. But when you begin showing yourself respect, when you hold yourself to a higher standard, people sense it. The way you carry yourself changes. The way you hold a conversation changes. And they respond differently, because they're responding to a different signal. Self-respect doesn't arrive through big achievements. It comes from small daily choices that quietly tell your own mind, I matter. Keeping a promise to yourself when it's inconvenient. Following through on something you said you'd do. Walking away from a conversation that was pulling you down instead of fighting for approval you didn't need. Each one of those choices, small as they look, builds something inside you. A deep, private knowing that you can trust yourself. And once you trust yourself, confidence flows naturally. Not because you earned a title or hit a number, but because you prove to yourself over and over that you mean what you say. Respect yourself first. Consistently. Quietly. And the world adjusts. Chapter 4. Kill the need for approval. There is a trap that steals confidence from more people than almost anything else. And it's subtle enough that most people don't even recognize it as a trap. It is the constant, grinding need for approval. You know what I mean. That itch that asks, do they like me? Do they agree? Am I good enough in their eyes? It whispers beneath conversations, behind decisions, inside every post you share and every choice you present to the world. And it quietly runs the show. People dress not for themselves but for what others might say. They chase compliments, sidestep criticism, and feel genuinely crushed when someone withholds their applause. Not because they're weak, but because they've handed their self-worth to other people for safekeeping. Here's the problem with that arrangement. Approval can be given and approval can be taken away. People change their minds. Moods shift. Circumstances change. And if your sense of value rises and falls with everyone's reaction to you, you will spend your entire life on a roller coaster that someone else is operating. No one owes you approval. And no one's opinion, however confidently delivered, has the right to define you. When you kill the need for approval, you free yourself. You stop bending your choices to fit other people's expectations. You stop performing. You start building a life that actually feels like yours. And that is where dangerous confidence comes from. Not from people clapping, but from you no longer needing them to. Think about the people you genuinely admire. Are they the ones who try to please everyone, or the ones who stand firm even when the crowd disagrees? It's always the second group. Because real strength is not in being liked by all. It is in being respected for standing true. Here's the distinction worth holding. There is nothing wrong with enjoying praise. There's nothing wrong with feeling good when someone appreciates your work. The problem arrives the moment you need it, when you depend on it to feel valuable. The moment that happens, you hand over your power. You give other people the remote control to your emotions. And people change channels fast. How do you begin to break this? Start small. Practice saying no without a lengthy explanation. Practice making decisions based on what you know is right for you, even when others won't understand. Remind yourself daily, their approval is optional. My self-respect is not. The moment you stop chasing it, something unexpected happens. Some people won't like it. They may call you cold, or arrogant, or changed. Stay steady. Because in time, those same people will respect you more than they ever did when you were folding for their acceptance. Because here's what people feel but rarely say out loud: they may enjoy your approval seeking. But they admire you when you don't need theirs. The world doesn't need another person begging for likes. It responds to the person who moves forward, with or without them. Chapter 5. Respond with silence, not emotion. One of the greatest signs of confidence is not how loud you can be. It is how quiet you can remain. Most people believe strength means always having a response, always defending yourself, always showing everyone how sharp or formidable you are. But real strength is often its opposite. It's the ability to stay calm, to stay silent, and to simply refuse to be pulled into every emotional battle that crosses your path. Think about how often people lose their power because they cannot keep quiet. Someone criticizes them and they snap back instantly. Someone disrespects them and they explode. Someone challenges them and they rush to defend themselves before they've even fully heard the challenge. In that moment, they feel like they're showing strength. But what they're actually showing is that their emotions are in control, and when your emotions control you, your power is gone. Silence, on the other hand, is disarming. When people expect a reaction and you give them nothing, they don't know how to handle it. They push, and you don't move. They attack, and you stay steady. That steadiness is what unsettles people. Because you've just shown them something they weren't expecting. That you cannot be provoked. That their words didn't land the way they hoped. That you are running on a different frequency. This is not about becoming passive. Silence doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you choose your responses with care. It means you refuse to waste your energy on battles that don't matter. And here's what that practice gives you: time to think. Space to decide whether the moment even deserves your attention. Your words also become more powerful when you speak less. If you speak constantly, defending, explaining, reacting, people tune out. But if you speak rarely, and when you do speak it's with quiet authority, people lean in. They know you don't waste words. They know that when you finally say something, it matters. Start by noticing your triggers. Pay attention to the moments when you feel that heat rising. When someone criticizes you. When they dismiss you. When they try to provoke a reaction. That is exactly the moment to pause. Breathe. Let silence do the work. 9 times out of 10, you won't even need to respond. And on the rare occasions when you do, your response will come from a place of strength instead of impulse, and the difference will be palpable to everyone in the room. You don't owe everyone a reaction. Silence is not empty. It is full of power. And once you learn to use it, you'll discover that the person who stays steady while everyone else reacts, that person commands the room without ever raising their voice. Chapter 6. Let your body speak first. Before you ever open your mouth, your body is already telling the world who you are. People see how you walk, how you stand, whether you meet their eyes or avoid them. And within seconds, before you've said a single word, they've already formed an impression. That impression is built not on your credentials or your story, but on the silent language your body broadcasts constantly. The research on this is humbling. When your words and your body language contradict each other, people believe your body. Always. You can say I'm confident while hunched over, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, and nobody will believe you. But you can say very little, stand tall, move calmly, hold your gaze steady, and people will feel your presence without knowing exactly why. What does it mean to let your body speak first? It means walking into a room like you belong there. Shoulders back. Chest open. Head level. Not in arrogance, but in quiet certainty. It means your movements have purpose. Your handshake is firm. Your eye contact is steady, not darting away in apology for being seen. Think about the people you naturally respect when they enter a space. They don't announce themselves. They don't have to. Something in the way they move communicates everything before they speak. That is not personality. That is practiced body language. There's a deeper connection worth understanding here. Your body trains your mind as much as your mind trains your body. If you sit small, your mind begins to feel small. If you carry yourself like you're hiding, your mind starts to believe hiding is appropriate. But if you stand upright, expand your posture, and move with deliberate calm, your mind receives the signal, I am steady. I belong here. Sometimes the fastest way to shift how you feel is to shift how you move first. Here is something practical you can use immediately. The next time you walk into any room, a meeting, a social event, anywhere that matters, pause for 1 second at the doorway. Take one calm breath. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your head slightly. Then walk in at a measured, unhurried pace. No rush. No hurry. Just presence. That adjustment alone changes how people perceive you. And more importantly, it changes how you perceive yourself. Chapter 7. Stop reacting, start leading. Most people live their lives in reaction mode. Something happens, and they respond. Someone criticizes them, and they defend. Someone praises them, and suddenly they feel good. They are entirely at the mercy of whatever comes their way. That is not confidence. That is dependency. And as long as you are reacting, you are not leading. The person who reacts is always one step behind, letting the world dictate their mood, their energy, their decisions. But the person who leads, they set the tone. They decide the direction. They don't wait to see how things unfold before they act. They create what happens. When you react to everything, people learn how to control you. They figure out your buttons and push them with precision. But when you stop reacting, when you stay grounded and calm, those same people suddenly lose their grip. You become unpredictable in the best possible way, because you no longer behave the way your emotional patterns predicted. Leading doesn't always mean leading other people. It starts with leading yourself. It means choosing your actions instead of letting them be chosen for you by circumstance. It means asking yourself, what do I want to create here? Instead of how should I respond to what just happened? How do you make that shift? First, slow down. Insert a pause between stimulus and response. That pause, even if it's just one breath, creates a space where you get to choose, rather than react. In that space is your power. Second, set intentions before situations happen. Before walking into a difficult conversation, a stressful environment, a high-pressure moment, decide in advance how you want to show up. I will stay calm. I will speak clearly. I will not be moved by anything that happens. When you walk in with that intention, you are already leading. And remember, leading yourself does not mean controlling every outcome. It means controlling your response to every outcome. That calm, centered self-possession is magnetic. People feel it. They begin to look to you, not because you demanded it, but because you're the steadiest person in the room. Stop giving the world the power to dictate your actions. When you shift from reacting to leading, you rise above the noise. And once you make that shift, life stops happening to you, and starts happening through you. Chapter 8. Embrace discomfort until it feels normal. Confidence is not built in comfortable places. It is built in the uncomfortable ones, the ones most people spend their lives carefully avoiding. Think about the moments that made you strongest. They were never the easy ones. They were the ones where you felt unprepared, or nervous, or out of your depth, and you stepped forward anyway. That is where growth happens. That is where character is forged. And that is where dangerous confidence is built, in the choosing to move forward when every instinct tells you to pull back. The problem is that most people design their lives around avoiding exactly those moments. They choose what is familiar, what is safe, what doesn't stretch them too far. And there is a price for that safety. If you always choose comfort, you never expand. You stay exactly the same size. And somewhere underneath, you know it. That quiet knowledge, that you haven't really tested yourself, is one of the biggest sources of hidden insecurity. Confidence is not built on telling yourself you're strong. It's built on putting yourself in situations that show you that you are. Every time you step into something uncomfortable and come out the other side, you collect a piece of evidence. I can handle this. And the more evidence you gather, the more unshakable your foundation becomes. Here is the key. Discomfort never fully disappears. You don't reach some final destination where life stops testing you. What changes is your relationship to it. Instead of seeing discomfort as a threat, you begin to recognize it as training. And what once made you shake becomes, through repetition, completely normal. Start small. Speak up in a meeting when you'd usually stay quiet. Strike up a conversation you'd normally avoid. Volunteer for the task that makes your stomach tighten. Every small push expands your capacity. Then go bigger. Take on the goal that actually scares you, not in spite of the fear, but because of it. The gym teaches this beautifully. You only build muscle under resistance. The growth happens when you pick up something heavy enough that your body has to adapt. Life works the same way. So the next time you feel fear at the edge of something new, pause. And instead of saying I don't want to feel this, say, this is where I get stronger. That reframe changes everything. Discomfort stops being the enemy and becomes the very thing that builds the confidence nothing can touch. Chapter 9. Speak less, command more. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people in any room are often the quietest? They don't rush to fill every silence. They don't compete for airtime. They wait. They listen. And when they finally speak, something shifts, people lean in. Conversations pause. The energy in the room adjusts. That is not an accident. That is confidence expressed through restraint. Most people talk too much because they are afraid. Afraid of silence. Afraid that if they stop speaking, they'll lose attention, or be forgotten, or seem unimportant. So they pile on words, explanations, stories, qualifications, hoping that volume will convince people of their worth. But here is the reality: the more you speak without purpose, the weaker your words become. Confidence is not about how much you say. It is about how much weight each word carries. And the way to give your words weight is to give them rarity. Every sentence should have intention. Every pause should communicate that you are not rushed, not desperate, not scrambling to be heard. Silence builds anticipation. A few words delivered with calm build authority. That is why true leaders are never the ones who dominate every conversation. They conserve their energy. And when they do speak, it lands. Practice this, slow down. Don't rush to answer every question the moment it's asked. Give yourself a breath. That pause alone communicates confidence. It signals that you're choosing your words, not just producing them. Then trim the excess. Instead of long explanations, practice giving simple, clear, direct statements. Yes. No. That works for me. I'll think about it. Short. Calm. Firm. People respect that instantly. And here is the other piece that most people miss entirely: listening. Not listening to reply, but listening to understand. When you actually hear someone, you gather information. You see what they're really saying beneath the surface. When you finally respond, your words are sharper because they're rooted in real comprehension. That is rare. And rare things command attention. Speak less. Mean more. Let your silence hold as much presence as your words. Because once you master that balance, you'll find that you don't need to be loud to be heard. Chapter 10. Turn rejection into power. Rejection. The word alone makes most people want to look away. Nobody enjoys being turned down. Nobody likes hearing no. And most people respond to rejection by shrinking, pulling back, playing smaller, deciding that the rejection is evidence of some fundamental inadequacy in themselves. But here is the truth that separates the people who build dangerous confidence from the people who stay stuck. Rejection is one of the most powerful tools for growth available to you, if you learn to use it. The difference between people who crumble under rejection and people who rise from it is perspective. Most people take rejection personally. They hear no and translate it as "you are not enough." They attach the rejection to their identity rather than seeing it for what it actually is: information. Feedback. A redirection. A test specifically designed to see whether you'll keep going. History is full of people who were rejected repeatedly before they found their path. Books turned down by dozens of publishers. Business ideas laughed out of rooms before becoming industries. Athletes cut from teams who went on to define their sport. The rejection didn't destroy them. It sharpened them. It forced them to get better, to find a different door, to prove, not to others, but to themselves, that they weren't going to stop. Here's the shift you need to make: stop asking why me and start asking what can I take from this? Did the rejection reveal something to work on? Did it push you toward a better approach? Did it expose that the path or person wasn't actually right for you? Every rejection carries a lesson, if you're willing to sit with it long enough to hear it. And here is something worth sitting with: you cannot build real confidence in a world where everyone always says yes to you. That kind of charmed life produces fragile confidence, the kind that shatters the first time something real pushes back. Dangerous confidence is built by facing no, repeatedly, and still moving forward. By letting rejection refine you instead of define you. The person who is no longer afraid of rejection is, simply put, unstoppable. Because the thing most people use to stop you, the raised eyebrow, the closed door, the turned-down offer, no longer has power over you. You've already proven to yourself that you can survive it. And you can. Chapter 11. Detach from outcomes. One of the strongest moves you will ever make is learning to let go of the result. Most people tie their entire sense of worth to outcomes. If things go well, they feel good about themselves. If things fall apart, they feel broken. Their emotional state rises and falls entirely based on what happens around them. And that makes them fragile in ways they often don't understand until something significant doesn't go their way. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop chaining your identity to the result. You give your best effort, fully, genuinely, and then you release the outcome. You focus on what you control: your effort, your attitude, your preparation. Everything after that is just information. Think of the athlete who trains for months for a competition they cannot fully control. They can't control the weather. They can't control the judges. They can't control what their competition did during those same months. All they can control is the quality of their preparation and the focus they bring on the day. That's detachment. They give everything, and their self-worth isn't destroyed if the scoreboard doesn't reflect it. When you detach from outcomes, you also become significantly harder to manipulate. No one can dangle a reward in front of you to make you do something against your better judgment. No one can threaten loss to make you desperate and reactive. You are free, because you've decided that your value isn't tied to winning or losing. And here is the irony worth remembering: detachment tends to produce better results. When you are no longer strangled by the fear of failure, you perform more freely. You think more clearly. You take the right risks instead of the safe ones. Shift your language. Instead of "I have to get this right," try "I'll give my best and learn from whatever happens." Instead of "I need them to approve," try "I'll show up honestly and trust the right people will respond." Small shifts. Enormous freedom. Chapter 12. Set boundaries without apology. Confidence isn't only about how you carry yourself in public. It's about how you protect yourself in private. One of the clearest signs of real confidence, the kind that doesn't require anyone's validation, is the ability to set a boundary and hold it. Without apology. Without guilt. Without flinching. Boundaries are not walls. They are lines that protect what matters: your time, your energy, your integrity. And if you don't establish them, the world will fill that space without hesitation. Not out of cruelty, simply because human nature expands into whatever room you leave it. People will take as much as you allow. And every time you say yes when your entire body is saying no. Every time you let someone cross a line to avoid an uncomfortable moment, a piece of your confidence quietly erodes. Not because of what they did, but because of what you permitted. Saying no is not selfish. It is one of the most honest things you can do. It says, "I know my limits. I respect my resources. I value what I'm protecting." And here is the crucial thing: you don't need to justify your boundaries. Not every no requires a paragraph of explanation. "That doesn't work for me. I'm not available. I've chosen not to do that." Short. Calm. Unapologetic. That is strength. That is clarity. When you start holding your boundaries, consistently, calmly, without drama, something remarkable happens. The people who matter respect you more. And the people who were only there because you were easy to use, they reveal themselves quickly. Take that revelation as useful information rather than loss. Set your boundaries. Hold them firm. And never apologize for the act of respecting yourself. Because once you master that, you'll understand that confidence isn't only about what you say yes to. It's equally powerful in what you refuse to accept. Chapter 13. Stand calm in chaos. Anyone can look composed when life is smooth. The real test, the one that reveals what you're actually made of, is how you carry yourself when things fall apart. When the room gets loud, when people around you start to panic, when plans collapse and uncertainty floods in. That is the moment where true confidence either collapses or shines. And the person who stays calm in that moment doesn't just appear stronger. They become the center of gravity. Others unconsciously organize around them. Most people fall apart in chaos because they respond to chaos with more chaos. They rush. They overreact. They make decisions from panic rather than clarity. But the person who slows down when everyone else speeds up, who breathes when everyone else holds their breath, that person has just shown something extraordinary, that the situation does not own them. Start with your breath. When things get chaotic, your body's first instinct is to tense, to go shallow, to prepare for the worst. Override that instinct deliberately. Take one slow, full breath. That single act tells your nervous system, "I am in control. I am not in danger." And from that one calm breath, clarity follows. Then manage your pace. In stressful situations, people rush because they confuse movement with progress. Slow, deliberate action under pressure is almost always more effective than frantic speed. Move purposefully. Speak in a lower, steadier register. The calm in your voice will change the energy in the room, often dramatically. Every time you stand steady when life gets messy, you prove something to yourself. You build a quiet internal resume of difficult moments you survived without losing your center. And that resume, not the titles, not the achievements, but those private victories, is what makes you genuinely unshakable. Chapter 14, Train until skill becomes certainty. Confidence is not magic. It doesn't appear through positive thinking alone. The deepest, most durable form of confidence is built on something more honest than affirmation: competence. When you have genuinely put in the work, when you've practiced something until it becomes second nature, you don't need to hope you're good enough. You know you are. That shift from "I think I can" to "I know I can" is where dangerous confidence lives. Think about anything you've ever actually mastered. There was a moment when it was difficult. When you had to think hard about every step, when you made mistakes, when uncertainty was constant. And then, through repetition, something changed. The fear faded. What once felt terrifying became familiar. What was familiar became competent. What was competent became certain. Repetition turns fear into familiarity. And familiarity, practiced with intention, becomes mastery. The key word there is intention. Half effort doesn't build real confidence. Going through the motions produces mediocre skill and hollow self-assurance. But when you push yourself, when you train harder and longer than you think you need to, you walk into any room differently. You don't have to announce your preparation. It shows in how you move, how you speak, how you hold yourself when pressure arrives. Identify where doubt holds you back. Then commit to training that specific skill deliberately. Read. Practice. Make mistakes. Get feedback. Repeat, until what once made you uncertain becomes something you do without thinking. And remember, no one can take away what you've truly trained for. Compliments fade. Approval disappears. But skill stays. Skill becomes certainty. And certainty, quiet, earned, and real, is the foundation of the kind of confidence nothing in the world can shake. Chapter 15, Live as if you need nothing. The ultimate level of confidence is this: living as if you need nothing. Not because you don't enjoy success, or relationships, or recognition, but because you are not dependent on them. When your peace, your sense of worth, and your identity no longer hinge on what others give or withhold, you step into a kind of freedom most people never taste. Most people live in constant, quiet need. They need approval to feel secure. They need attention to feel important. They need results to feel proud. And because they need, they chase, and the chasing itself communicates the need, which makes it harder to find what they're looking for. Neediness repels the very things it reaches for. But imagine moving through life without that hunger for validation. Pursuing your goals not because you need them to complete you, but because you choose them as an expression of who you already are. Enjoying success, without being defined by it. Building relationships grounded in genuine choice, not quiet desperation. That is what it means to live as if you need nothing. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you build yourself so solidly on the inside that external outcomes can't determine your stability. You carry your own validation. Your own peace. Your own authority. And here is the thing about living that way: it is magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't cling, who don't beg for attention, who don't try too hard. Neediness repels, but the person who seems already whole, already enough, already at peace with themselves, that person draws others toward them without effort. How do you begin to live this way? Shift your focus inward. Ask not what others can give you, but what you can give yourself. Respect. Discipline. Purpose. Standards. These things no one can hand you. But you can build them, daily, through your choices. Practice gratitude for what you already have. Not as a performance, but as a genuine recalibration. When you recognize that you're already rich in what matters, in lessons learned, in resilience built, in the capacity to begin again, the desperate chase begins to quiet. And remind yourself of this when fear tries to grip you: you have survived every hard thing in your life so far. Every disappointment. Every failure. Every rejection. You are still here. Wiser. Sharper. More complete than you were before. Build on that. Because the person who needs nothing is the person nothing can control. They act from choice, not desperation. They give because they want to. They love because it's real. They pursue excellence because it matters to them, not because they're empty without it. That is dangerous confidence at its fullest. Not loudest. Not loudest. Fullest. The kind that is quiet, steady, undeniable, and entirely your own. Confidence is not about shouting louder than the world around you. It is not about forcing people to notice you, chasing validation, or performing a version of strength for an audience that changes with the wind. Real confidence is calm. It is steady. It is the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove itself, because it already knows its own value. Over these chapters, we have walked through every principle that builds that kind of confidence from the inside out. Stopping the over-explaining. Mastering the inner voice. Building self-respect before anything else. Releasing the need for approval. Using silence as a tool. Letting your body speak before your words do. Shifting from reacting to leading. Embracing discomfort as the only real gym there is. Speaking less, commanding more. Turning rejection into fuel. Detaching from outcomes. Setting boundaries without apology. Standing steady in chaos. Training until skill becomes certainty. And finally, living as if you need nothing, because you are already whole. None of this is about perfection. None of it happens overnight. But every single one of these principles, practiced consistently, quietly compounds. Like interest. Like muscle. Like a foundation that gets stronger with every layer. The path forward is not dramatic. It is daily. It is the small decision to pause before reacting. The choice to hold your ground when someone pushes. The discipline to keep training when no one is watching. The courage to set a boundary and not apologize for it. True confidence doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It shows up in the way you move, in the way you speak, in the way you hold yourself when life gets hard. It lives in the quiet decisions you make when you're alone and no one will ever know. And it is already inside you. Not as something to be created from scratch, but as something to be uncovered, strengthened, and claimed. So take these lessons. Don't just understand them. Live them. In your conversations. In your setbacks. In the moments when everything around you is loud and uncertain and you choose, deliberately, quietly, to stay still. Because when you learn to react to nothing, you gain something extraordinary, the calm in the middle of every storm. The steadiness others can't shake. The presence that speaks without words. That is dangerous confidence. And it's already yours to claim.